Noch zwei.
This is Johnny.
Noch eine.
He was told he would never be able to walk. Since birth, he suffered from extreme muscle spasms. Despite all the odds, he wants to be accepted as an athlete and a sports student. He relies on a handful of carers 16 hours a day. Johnny is in a constant fight against bureaucratic hurdles and exclusion. Sports is his way out.
When it comes to my body and my disability, sports is my elixir of life. Without it, I wouldn't be able to lead an independent life, because I wouldn't be able to move properly. And that's why sports is my medicine, my only form of medicine, and I want it to stay that way. How I came to study sports is actually a funny story. I wanted to study medicine to go into my own field of treatment, but couldn't do that because of the practical year. And then my former physiotherapist said to me, "Why don't you study something where you can implement your training, sports?" My first reaction was, he's off his rocker. So I asked, "Are you going to run the 3,000 meters for me in the aptitude test or what?" I have the severest form of this disability with a strong focus on my legs. Because of this, I normally shouldn't be able to sit or even walk or eat by myself.
Today, Johnny's usual swimming pool is occupied. That's why he's had to settle for the cold basin. The cold water can be problematic and makes his muscles cramp even more. To keep warm, he has to power through from the start. He can only rely on his arms while swimming because his legs are partially paralyzed. Johnny has a rigorous training regime. On average, he spends 4 hours per day working out. Johnny doesn't just swim. He's a bit of a daredevil and does tons of crazy stuff. After swimming, Johnny has a quick chat with one of his favorite professors to discuss his studies and future athletic goals.
Hallo Herr Grasser, soweit so gut?
Ja.
Oder wie sieht es mit der Hand nach dem Event
Könnte besser sein, aber irgendwann wird es schon werden. Hat Spaß gemacht, da mitzuschwimmen. Ich würde auch wieder mitschwimmen und wie gesagt, nächstes Jahr vielleicht noch ein bisschen länger, aber ja.
Ihnen, Herr Grasser, ist klar, dass wir als Hochschule Sie sehr schätzen und freuen uns, dass Sie da sind. Wir sehen das als Aufgabe und in gewisser Weise auch als Challenge und hoffen, wir kriegen es halbwegs gut hin.
Johnny is not that optimistic about the situation disabled people face at German universities.
Man gewinnt schon den Eindruck, oder vor allem ich habe den
Sometimes I
Eindruck,
get the feeling that for sports universities, the most important thing is the performance of their athletes. And the way you are perceived there relates to the amount of medals you win. And that's why I have the feeling a wheelchair doesn't fit into the image of a sports university.
dass ein Rollstuhl nicht zum Außenbild von der Sporthochschule passt.
When confronted with Johnny's views, the head of the university's disability office has a different opinion.
Ich bedauere das sehr.
I deeply regret and strongly disagree with this statement. From my perspective, it was never important if someone brings back a medal or not. If we take a look at the 20 to 30 students at our university with challenging disabilities, I don't think any of them will say, I'm only welcome here because I might win a medal someday. I think they'll say, we're allowed to study here like everyone else, and we're judged by the same criteria. We're being treated equally.
Also wir werden gleichwertig behandelt.
One of the most challenging exercises for Johnny is walking. A few times a week he trains for 1 hour without crutches. To counter the imbalances in his body, he has developed his own methods.
Das wird jetzt Stück für Stück eng gezogen, den Rücken.
It gets tightened bit by bit and pulls my back straight, so I can walk upright on the treadmill.
Auf dem Laufband zu laufen.
Sind wir da vorbei?
Johnny doesn't see himself as a regular part of the student body. He believes that sometimes the other students have problems treating him like a normal person. He feels left out.
Das ist immer geil. Wetten, die Pommes sind nicht gesalzt? Ich kann relativ viel und werde trotzdem jedes Mal alleine stehen gelassen.
I'm quite independent, yet still I am often left behind. Along with all the training I need to do, it's a key reason that makes me really sad, and it's mentally quite tough to process.
Immer so nur sich selbst in Anführungsstrichen.
Especially if it's just you and your carers for so many years.
Das, was am schlimmsten ist. Ich hab
My advantage is that I have my sport, and that is my outlet for my frustration.
Mein Ventil in Anführungszeichen.
Johnny also struggles with everyday situations. Even in Germany, being in a wheelchair means encountering many obstacles.
So. Ja, das könnte lustig werden, aber ich brauche einen zweiten, sonst geht das nicht. Einmal umdrehen, dass man hinten zuerst reingeht, weil dann ist es leichter. Also, und dann muss halt einer vorgehen und der andere vorne anpacken. Danke. Ja, geht.
Ich mach dann das, danke.
What may seem like a minor inconvenience can amount to a detour of several stops and a huge waste of time.
Ja, mal wieder nicht der Aufzug. Dann nehmen wir wohl die Treppe.
To live a more or less independent life, Johnny requires physical assistance, but around-the-clock care is expensive. Normally the state authorities pay, but for the last 5 months, Johnny hasn't received any money and had to finance everything out of his own pocket, almost 40,000 euros.
Nee, also höchstens das Klettband noch. Theoretisch brauchen wir es nicht, aber wenn der klettert.
3 different state authorities are fighting over who is financially responsible for Johnny.
Ich muss mich darum streiten, dass
I fight to live a self-determined life, yet in the end I am the one suffering, along with my carers. I have to pay in advance, and no one cares how I do it.
wie ich das mache.
When asked to comment on the delay, the council now responsible for Johnny cited procedural errors and questioned his monthly budget. Despite all the odds, Johnny continues to fight against his own body and all the obstacles in his way. To counter the inward rotation of his left knee, Johnny needs someone to help him coordinate his movements. His partially paralyzed legs need weights to feel the impact of his feet on the treadmill. Because of the muscle tension in his body, everything he does burns at least twice as many calories as a person without his disability.
Stopp.
Johnny is an exception. Most people with this condition couldn't even dream of doing the things he does. Without his training, he would not be able to walk, swim, or do any other things. So sports remains his only therapy.
Either I don't train at all and my physique deteriorates to such an extent that I drop into the category I'm supposed to belong in, meaning everything will be paid for, even the 20-meter cab ride to university, or I do everything in my power to improve my physique and in theory save the government some money. Instead, they reduce my installments, even though I only want to live a self-determined life.
If Johnny loses his fitness, he loses his freedom. He has more plans and goals he wants to fulfill. He wants to start his own business, designing sportswear, and become a motivational coach. He wants to climb Sugarloaf Mountain in Brazil. And if surfing ever becomes a Paralympic sport, he'll do anything to take part.
There is no impossible. If it doesn't work, I need to find a way. It takes a long time before I accept something doesn't work.